All right, we're a little bit late starting. Apologies for the delay. My name's George Farmer. Have we got the first slide up? Oh yeah, here we go. Good. Very simple presentation, but with a very deep message, hopefully. And I want to kind of get across. I spend so much of my time kind of teaching people the how-to Aquascape. You know, the nuts and bolts, the process, the step-by-step things we have to do to create these beautiful aquascapes. But by the end of this presentation, I'd like to encourage you to think about your aquariums and your aquascapes in a different way, and try to really think about why we're doing this pastime, this hobby, this art, this meditation in some ways, you could argue, and we'll touch more on that later. So for those that don't know, my name is George Farmer, as it says up there, and I am a full-time aquascaper. But I've got quite an interesting history. I used to be in the Royal Air Force for 14 years. And if you read that, can everyone read that sentence at the top there? That kind of sums up the path that I was on. So I was, like I say, Royal Air Force, 14 years. And the last tour of duty I did was bomb disposal. And I got blown up in a roadside bomb. And that was the kind of pivoting moment where I realized I don't want to be in the Air Force anymore, and I'd really love to make a career out of aquascaping. So that's kind of what I did. And it was an interesting journey, an interesting process, and it's going on right now, literally right now. And it's an absolute privilege for me to be able to do this career, this job, this kind of lifestyle, and communicate my passion for aquascaping to you guys. So I'm deeply grateful, first of all, to Aquashella for inviting me here for the keynote. I only just realized I was the keynote, so no pressure. So deeply grateful for Aquashella for putting on such an amazing festival. You know, this is the perfect way to celebrate this beautiful hobby. And, you know, for me, it's all about there's three C's I want you to think about, okay? The three C's, the letter C, not the C as in the ocean. So the first C is creation, right? We create these beautiful aquariums, these aquascapes. The second C is consumption. So we're consuming these beautiful aquascapes. We're sitting in front of them, we're relaxing, etc. We're maintaining them. You could argue maintaining is another form of creation, in fact. And then finally, and arguably the most important to me, and what really kind of epitomizes events like this, is community. You know, and we all lived through the pandemic, and I think the importance of physical community, for me at least, became so kind of prevalent, you know, because I was kind of isolated. I'm an extrovert, I get energy off other people, and I was pretty much isolated for 2 years. And then I realized, you know, I can create loads of content on video, on Instagram, and all the good stuff, write a book. But it's only when you have this live, real-time dialogue with other humans that you really understand the importance of connection, of community. And it's events like this which really, you know, bring that message home to me. And here we've got a beautiful photo. I shot this earlier today, just on my phone. No posing, just literally, on top of a chair, a random shot. But this is community in action for me. You know, this is a beautiful image. You know, we've got just people here that are a mixture of experience levels with the hobby. You know, hopefully there's some real newcomers there. There's been loads of kids coming up to see these aquascapes. And it's only during these physical events, like I say, that we can really get that passion, that inspiration, and dare I say, that education across in such a more efficient way, if you like, because you've got this real-time dialogue, this real-time conversation going on. You know, it's just a joy to see children and young folk and beginners engaging with the aquascapers that are creating these works of art, and just to witness this was really joyful. So, you know, deeply grateful for these opportunities. Okay, so a little bit about my kind of history in aquascaping, how I kind of came into it. I kept my first aquarium in around the year 2000, and I've always been a fan of nature. I've always loved to be in forests, by rivers, and just generally surrounded by nature. So it kind of made sense for me to want to create a natural-looking aquarium. So instinctively, I knew that I wanted it to be planted. And so I researched how to grow plants. Long story short, I could grow plants quite well at one point. And then I started to understand. I heard about this guy called Takashi Amano. And without wanting to sound a bit too kind of sort of serious, this guy almost saved my life. He invented this concept called the nature aquarium concept. And there's actually a nature aquarium spirit, even if you're kind of into a bit of spirituality. And he kind of came up with this whole kind of philosophy of transferring that beautiful essence of nature from outside and then bringing it into the aquarium space inside. And that whole that changed the game for the aquarium hobby and, of course, for aquascaping. Up until this point, the only aquascapes that were being kind of created was the Dutch style, which is very formal, neat rows of stem plants, very colourful, very high impact, but very kind of cold looking, very formulaic, very formal, like painting by numbers kind of thing. Whereas the nature aquarium style was a bit more loose, a bit more kind of chaotic, what we call wabi-sabi, working with imperfections to create an even more beautiful image. And these kind of concepts that Amano was telling us about in this book here, it just absolutely blew my mind. And I got bought this book, I think, in 2003, 2004, and I opened it up, and I don't know if you guys have experienced, you get that light bulb moment, or there's a shift in your brain, and you just suddenly get this almost like an epiphany. And I saw these aquascapes in this book, and I just knew that that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do with my hobby. And it quickly evolved from being a hobby into being an obsession, and then into a borderline addiction. And then I thought, well, I can't escape this addiction, so I might as well try and make a career out of it. And then I started writing for Practical Fish Keeping magazine, and then co-founded, I should say, the UK Aquatic Plant Society in 2007. Shameless plug, I do recommend their forum, ukaps.org/forum. The UK Aquatic Plant Society, you can find it on Google, UK APS. Free resource, amazing information, loads of experts online to give you advice. So I do recommend checking out forums. We're all fans of, a lot of us use social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, etc. But there's actually something really cool about a message board, a forum, because you can actually search for the particular subject matter and the particular topics. So you can go really quite deep into these subjects, which you can't necessarily do on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, and all the kind of more instant gratification style social media platforms. So I know I'm rambling, but check out forums rather than just the usual social media stuff. Some of you may recognize this huge aquarium here on the right. It's not my Aquascape, unfortunately. This is a 40,000-gallon nature aquarium in an exhibition in Lisbon called Florestas Submersas. So 40,000 gallons, that is about 160,000 litres, and it's a U-shape. So you've got this long elongation here, and you've got another bit here, and then you've got another bit here. And it's its own exhibit, of course, it's huge, and you actually go into it, and you walk in, and there's no ambient lights, there's just the lights from the exhibition. And there's this music playing, and this music has been composed specifically for this exhibition. And this aquarium, this giant aquascape, this beautiful nature aquarium, was conceived and designed by Takashi Amano. And it's really sad to say that this was his last ever creation. He died in 2015, which is a very sad day for aquascaping. He was only 61, I believe. So I walked into this exhibition with my wife in 2019, and I'm going to do it now. I broke down and cried because it was just so moving, and I felt, the nature aquarium spirit. and it was really, really powerful. And I can't articulate it in words because what we're dealing with here is beyond like the regular language that we're dealing with. We're dealing with not even emotions. We're dealing with like a vibe. You know, in modern times we call it a vibe. Some people call it like a spirit. You know, but there is something deeply moving when you are connected to these aquascapes. And this arguably is the finest, biggest aquascape in the world. And you felt the power. You felt that nature aquarium spirit deeply. And it just made me acutely aware that I was on the right path of aquascaping. And although Amano has sadly passed, you know, his legend absolutely lives on with the nature aquarium spirit. And that spirit has been embodied here, I would argue, at Aquashella. You know, there's been aquascaping contests, there's beautiful scapes on display, we've had escape offs, you know, and they're all really a beautiful way to communicate this more important message, I believe, of this fundamental requirement for humans to be connected to nature. But modern life, especially in Western culture, seems to be try to take you away from that connection, you know, and it's very divisive. And we have, you know, very polarized political views. We have views on whether the Earth is round or flat. You know, we've got all these really crazy kind of contrasting egoic reactions, basically. But what I believe is aquascaping can connect you to something that goes beyond that kind of comparison and that constant worry for the future or the constant regret of the past. You know, it can really connect you with the power of now. And it's only when maybe you start to think of your aquascapes in this way that you can really connect to this special power of now. You know, this is the only time that really exists is right here, right now. And actually, when you maybe go home and look at your aquariums, whether it's a beautiful aquascape or a regular fish tank, there's something that you can get from that you may not be aware of. So next time, maybe, you know, when you are sitting in front of your aquarium, you know, just let go of all your worries. You know, I know it's easy to say that than do it, but if you really just focus on that aquarium, maybe just focus on one specific point. You know, it could be this beautiful boiboitis leaf up here, and just really go deep on that, like that one tiny bit of detail, and you can hopefully slip into this zone, you know, like a meditative zone, where you're not worried about what's just happened earlier in the day. You're not ruminating thoughts. You're not worried about the future or anxious about your meeting tomorrow. You're just literally present in that moment, connected to that beautiful slice of nature, whether it's a fish, whether it's a leaf, whether it's an oxygen bubble. You're just there with it, right there, right now, you know, and that's a really special moment. And the more you practice this, the more you can slip into this mode of just peace and just being in that moment. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. Some people may recognize this aquascape. Again, unfortunately, it's not mine. But this belongs to a dear friend, a Polish friend called Adam Paszkela. And he has a beautiful nature aquarium studio. And in my mind, Adam absolutely epitomizes the nature aquarium spirit. You know, he has a beautiful home. In fact, he has two homes. He has his family home, and then he has a home for his aquascapes. It's a beautiful kind of studio gallery in Poland. Here it is. This was taken. This is a small section of it. It's bigger than this. But you get the vibe. Can you feel the vibe when you see that? It's just minimalist. It's beautiful. You're just focusing on that nature. There's no distraction. It's just, this is the nature aquarium spirit. You know, even the seating, it's all designed to be as least distraction as possible, so you can fully focus, give your attention fully to that aquascape. And we can all do this, right? We can all do this with our own aquariums at home. Whether you're a fancy aquascaper, or whether you're a fish breeder or a snail enthusiast, we've all got these beautiful little pieces of nature in our home, I guess. Most of you have got aquariums. And we can all use them. Well, not even use them, because that sounds like an attachment. We can all connect with them in this special way. And they can really, really help us feel better about ourselves. And if we feel better about ourselves, the ripple effect goes outwards, and other people feel better. And so this is the power of aquascaping. You know, we can really make some powerful changes in our own minds and of those around us. So is everyone having a good Aquashella so far? I know this is a different kind of vibe. We're bringing it kind of down a bit. It's the last talk of the day. So, you know, in my mind, Aquashella is an amazing event. But for someone that's I'm very, very sensitive to audio and light, and you know, my senses are always pretty much on fire. So when I'm in a place like this, I don't know about you guys, but it's quite overwhelming in some points. You know, all the high intensity colours, the music, and I love the dance music, but I love it to dance to. So it's sometimes important to have the contrast. You know, without the darkness, we don't get the light. You know, without the chaos, we don't get the peace. So maybe this talk is hopefully encouraging, you know, a little bit less chaos and a little bit more peace. And you know, there's a lesson there in everyday life. I think it's okay to have crazy times and, you know, go celebrate and have all the high energy, but it's also important to balance that with a lower energy and just connecting. And I think one of the best ways to get that kind of chill vibe is to connect with nature. And for me personally, one of the best ways to connect with nature is to create nature. And we can create nature with aquascaping. That was Amano's original philosophy, is create nature. And he also said, this is the ultimate luxury. You know, and as humans, we are in a hugely privileged position, arguably the most intelligent species on the planet. Yet we have this crazy obsession with kind of destroying stuff. And, you know, I think maybe if everyone in the world had an aquascape, we wouldn't destroy so much stuff, because we would be focused on creation and creating something beautiful. And after you've created that beauty, you can consume it. And through the consumption of that beauty and that constant dialogue, that constant connection to and froing of the consumption and the creativity, and you can do this through the maintenance of your aquascapes. So one of the biggest questions I get asked when they see one of these beautiful aquariums is, one, how much does it cost? And two, how much time is it going to take away from me? Well, that's the wrong approach. It's not how much money is it going to cost you or how much time it's going to take away from you. It's how much value it's going to add to your life. And this is a scarcity mindset that humans are grown up with. But it's just trying to flip things around, you know. And it's a similar thing with complaining versus gratitude. So I try to just be as grateful as I can for absolutely everything. And sometimes it's even the smallest things that you can be grateful for. And if you get in the habit of being grateful, you just become a happier person, seriously. And the happiness spreads. It's the ripple effect. And I know I'm rambling, but it's all good. So you can be grateful for your aquascapes. You know, you can be grateful for the maintenance. You know, you can be grateful for the opportunity to make the aquascape look even better, or provide those fish, those shrimp, those snails, the bacteria, the plants. All of these living things are in your care. And so we're privileged. We've got the ultimate privilege, the ultimate luxury to have this beautiful slice of nature in our care. And it's through, you know, it's through the maintenance, it's through the water changes, it's through the trimming of the plants that we show this care, we're displaying this care. And that's deeply connecting, and it can actually, for me, it makes me feel better. You know, have various mental health issues. I got blown up in Afghanistan. I had a pretty traumatic childhood, but it's through these kind of lessons that I've kind of taught myself in a way. And I read a lot of self-improvement stuff, etc. But I personally believe aquascaping has such a potential to make people better. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And it's not necessarily just because it's an aquarium. It's the process of what you're doing with that aquarium. That's the special thing. The aquarium itself is just an object. You could just see it as an attachment almost. But it's when you put that effort and energy and that love and the care and attention into creating the aquascape, you get that reward back at you. You just feel great. And no matter what mood I'm in, sometimes I'll wake up in a really foul mood and I can't be bothered to do the water change that I'm supposed to do. But I know now, just through sheer kind of training myself, actually the worse mood I'm in, the more I need to do that water change. It's like you're battling yourself almost, but I know that if you do the water change, it starts this ripple effect again, because you do the water change and you feel better because you've done some physical activity. You can physically see the results of your work that have improved that environment for those animals and living entities that are within your care. That's going to give you a boost. You're going to get a dopamine boost. You're going to get an energy lift. And then you'll have energy to do something else. You might want to trim the plants or mow the lawn outside, do the washing up. And then you get this kind of ripple effect of positive actions. And so just by, starting the day off in a bad mood, you did a water change, or even feed the fish. It's even easier than doing a water change. You could just start off with these micro tasks when you're feeling really low. And aquariums can help enable this, right? And so I'd encourage you, I'm guessing some of you do struggle with stuff. I think most of us do. But try to maybe think about your aquariums in a new way, in a helpful way, to ease, the modern stresses and strains that most of us deal with, on a daily basis. So, beautiful space, I think you'll agree. This is taken from my home gallery kind of space. It's changed a little bit since, but I just wanted to show how I've incorporated my aquariums into my living space. And for me, it's so important to understand that the aquarium isn't just like it is what it is. It's a big thing. It can be a big thing, and it takes up a lot of space. So it's important, in my mind, to make sure it takes up the space in a nice way as you can. So very grateful to my supporters. I won't mention names and stuff because it's Aquashella talk, although there is a very special raffle prize announcement at the end. I'm sure some of you are keen to listen to that. But I just wanted to basically show off. Yeah, I'm just showing off my tanks. Is that okay? This is cool. This is Malawi cichlids, Chindongo salusi, same species. The males are blue and the females are yellow. They are breeding, and that is so cool. And it's a really good flip, actually, from having a hardscape-only aquascape, so this is just rocks and some wood in there as well, versus the planted nature aquariums over there. And they're a completely different vibe, but you still can get this connection with nature, just in a different way. So the aquascapes are potentially, more chill vibes. You can sit there, it's green. Green is known to be a very relaxing color for the human eye. You have the fish, swimming around. Hopefully the plants are swaying gently in the flowing water, and you can sit there and you can just really feel chill. It's just like sitting by a riverside, just being really kind of relaxed and just letting things go. Cichlid tank, crazy little guys. And as soon as you get near the tank, they're like going, want to be fed all the time. But you've got the connection there with the animals rather than the aquascape as a whole. So you develop a bond, develop an emotional bond with these creatures. I've had these for 4 or 5 years now. There's a few generations of fish in there. And it's just a different vibe, but it's still this lovely connection that we have with nature. We're looking after something because it makes us feel good. They feel good. and it's just this positive, virtuous cycle of positive energy exchange. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what aquascaping is, really, is this beautiful dialogue of positive energy exchange. This is a good one. I wanted to show you how you can create hopefully you'll agree, quite a beautiful aquascape, but with a very basic system. So this is just a 20-gallon tank with the stock lighting. It does have CO2 injection, which is the game changer. But if you wanted to create something like this, it isn't that difficult. There are books out there, I've written one, that can teach you how to do this. There's lots of YouTube videos out there. Hopefully some of you saw some of the demos that were going on today as well. So to create this isn't that tricky anymore. The knowledge is out there. You just know where to look. And on that, I would advise just getting advice from one or two credible people rather than just searching around, getting little tidbits from here and there. You know, just find one or two. There's a lot of us out there now that know what we're doing. And the information out there is freely available on YouTube, etc. Books. So don't be afraid, you know, and give it a go, because you'll never know otherwise. And actually, the more mistakes you make, it's kind of the better, because every mistake you make is an opportunity to learn and grow. So don't be afraid. You know, and you can start off small, you can start off low budget. You don't need CO2 injection necessarily. You'll definitely benefit from CO2 injection, by the way. But this is within everyone's reach here, I would suggest. This is a beautiful aquascape, isn't it? This is like, it epitomizes the nature aquarium for me. Beautiful triangular composition, is clearly sloping there. Designed to be viewed from this side, so you can see the aquascape gently running up the hill. This is my dear friend Michael Mikkelsen. He's from Denmark. I go to Denmark most months to do some work with a plant company out there. And this guy invites me over to his home, and we chill vibes, checking out the scapes, drinking coffee, just chatting. You know, and going back to the community, this is part of the community that I operate in. And everywhere I go, I try to make new friends, new aquascaping friends. I've made some new friends, some dear friends over the last 10 days. I've been in Chicago 10 days, by the way. What an amazing city. But it's all about community, you know, and that's, you know, you're all here. I'm sure some of you know each other, and I'm sure some of you are great friends, and you're great friends maybe through the hobby, you know, and that's one of the beautiful things for me in particular with aquascaping. It's just an amazing, beautiful hobby for the beautiful people with a beautiful vibe. You know, we're all interested in the same thing. We all want to connect with nature. We all want to feel better about ourselves, about the people we love, about the things that are within our care, you know. And there's so many beautiful kind of nuances to aquascaping, you know, going back to the 3 C's. Yeah, creativity, creation. We're actually creating that aquascape from nothing. You know, it's a blank canvas. That empty aquarium is a blank canvas, you know. We put the wood and the rocks in there, you know, that's like the backbone. It's like the skeleton of the layout. And we put our plants in there. This is like the muscles and the flesh. And then we put our water in there, and that's like the blood. And we hopefully have this beautiful operating living system that we're deeply connected with this thing. It's actually part of us. You know, we're putting literally our time and energy into this thing that we've created. And we should be really proud of that. You know, we should take real care of it. Because if we learn to really take care of a simple thing like an aquascape, then maybe we can learn to take care of the more important things in life, you know, like how we're using energy, you know, how sustainable are the things that we're doing. Think about conservation. You know, we're keeping fish, we're keeping, you know, various living entities in our care, especially in the aquarium hobby. A lot of these animals come from endangered areas where there's huge habitat loss through palm oil production, etc. Hands up who's heard of Bucephalandra? Bucephalandra, you call it a bus. All of it originates from Borneo, and Borneo's been absolutely decimated, you know, through palm oil production. So if we can, you'll only start to really care about bigger issues like this if it has a personal effect on you. So if you care about your bucophalangia or some fish, maybe, from Borneo, then you might want to be caring about where you buy your products. Do they have palm oil in them? You know, I'm not here to judge, but just be a bit more mindful, maybe, of some of the everyday decisions we make, because they stack up and they compound. And if you make good decisions, good habits on a daily basis, you can create really great changes. This is the live aquascaping contest that was run here at Aquashella. Thanks to everyone that's involved, the supporters, especially the contestants. And it was just, this sums up for me like the community. Because a contest is usually perceived as people battling against each other. And that's kind of cool. And people, you know, humans, we love a good contest. We love a boxing match, football match, whatever. But for me, aquascaping isn't that vibe. Yeah. For me, it's more about collaboration. And for me, the winner, you know, here is aquascaping. That sounds really cheesy, but hey. And the competition forces, you know, high performance. People a bit more adrenaline, a bit more kind of scarcity mindset, and that's great. But the overall kind of net effect is we're growing the hobby together. And it isn't a scarcity thing. It's not like if I win this or if I have this amount of business, then, you know, I'm going to be fine. It's more about if everyone just comes together and to boost the aquascaping hobby, the aquascaping community. You know, we've got companies here, you know, Fleuve Aloise, they're kind of rival brands, right? But we're working together to boost aquascaping, because aquascaping is bigger than business. Yeah, aquascaping is it's a spiritual thing in my mind, and I'm sorry if that offends anyone, but it connects me with something far beyond any business. It connects me to nature, you know, and what else is there, you know, to connect to, really? When you strip it right back, there's only nature, really. And then fundamentally, that is what the nature aquarium spirit is. You know, that connection with nature and that connection with each other. You know, we all share this connection. We're all connected. We're all connected to the earth, and we can use aquascaping to help, hopefully, not just allow you to intellectually understand that message, but maybe through your own observations now, and dare I say, your own meditations when you're looking at your aquascapes, hopefully they can make you feel a little bit better. So I'm going to close it there. I know that's shorter than anticipated, but I'd love to do some Q&As. It is the keynote. So I'm happy to do Q&As, and I'll come down and we'll have a chat, and you can ask me some questions, and I'll hand the mic over. And yeah, very happy to take any questions that you may have. Okay, this is awkward. Hello, madam.
What's an easy way to get into adding the CO2?
That's a great question. Thank you. So the question was, what's the easiest way to get CO2 in your tank? So the cheapest way, and a way that's suitable for smaller aquariums, is a yeast-based system, so like a DIY. Fun fact, I wrote my first ever magazine article in 2006 on DIY CO2. So basically you have a, what do you guys call it, soda bottle, like a plastic soda bottle, like a half a gallon or so. And then you basically put some sugar in it, put some yeast in it, put some water in it. That creates a reaction and a production of carbon dioxide. And then you can literally pipe that into your aquarium using an appropriate tubes and diffusers. That's the cheapest and kind of most basic way. A disadvantage is that it's not very controllable. So you're relying on that chemical reaction to produce the CO2, but it's not a consistent process. It's very dependent on ambient temperature and lots of other things. So there's other options. There's even aerosol CO2, which isn't the best. My preferred method is a refillable pressurized cylinder system. So you have, you know, a cylinder, you know, like a 5-pound cylinder, a regulator on it to bring that high pressure down to a safe working pressure, and then you pipe that into your aquarium. But the cylinders will last many months, and then you can refill them. So an initial outlay is very high versus the yeast-based. So looking at $300 maybe. I'm not. Don't quote me on that. Versus say $20. But if you want to grow plants consistently and well, and you want to invest, and we talked about investing in the value of the hobby, not just this is going to cost me this much money. This is actually going to add value because it's going to make my plants grow better, and I'm going to create more beautiful aquascapes, and that's going to make me feel better. So you're investing in that CO2 not just to make the plants grow better, but to make you feel better as well. Any other questions? One at the back. Raise your hand. Who was it?
What's your favorite plant to work with?
Java fern, easy. Favorite plant? No, it all depends on the situation. So I do love epiphyte plants. These are plants that are designed to be attached to your decor. I think these add an immediate impact, immediate focal points, immediate sense of maturity. So should we see if we can get any on the screen? There we go. Even using like Monte Carlo here. We talked about this in the presentation earlier, but we've got Monte Carlo here being used as an epiphyte. And it just adds this, sense of nature. That's what we're trying to do. So epiphytes are my favourite plants. I love crypts. Cryptocorini species, really easy, don't need much light. Huge variety of sizes, shapes and colours. Something suitable for everyone. Most of them don't need CO2 injection either. Any other questions?
Would you recommend starting like with a beginner CO2 system, or like going big or going home?
Sorry, say that again.
Would you recommend starting with like a beginner, like starting with a yeast CO2 system, or like getting?
If you can, the question was, do I recommend going for the beginner kind of yeast-based CO2 system or the pressurized? If you can afford it, and I understand everyone's on a budget these days, especially. But if you can afford it, then I would definitely go for the pressurized system, because you're investing in something that, and you're going to be more inclined to take it more seriously. You know, if you do the yeast-based system and you fail, then my fear is that you might be put off, and then you won't want to carry on, and you won't want to try the CO2 again. And then, so if you go in and invest in the good quality, good performance items, in general, is a good idea in my mind. Any other questions?
Have you done much in terms of like dry start aquariums, and how do you prefer that, or kind of getting a base layout for like a carpet or whatever?
Yeah, it's a great question. The dry start method is an interesting one, or DSM if you're on the internet a lot. Basically, for those that don't know what the dry start method is, you plant your aquarium dry, you have like a moist soil, you cover the aquarium with like a cling film wrap, do you guys call it cling film? And then you light the aquarium for, say, 12 hours a day. And because most plants in nature like to grow out of water, they actually grow really well in your wet soil. And the idea is the plants become mature and robust enough, so when you flood the aquarium, they can transition and you have a beautiful aquascape. Is that making sense to everyone? Yeah? So that sounds great, but I say in my mind a lot, aren't I? In my opinion, I think it's better just to flood the tank straight away, because I like to enjoy the aquascape, you know, with the water in it. It's an aquascape. And I actually like to see the plants either struggle or, you know, and so I can then make the necessary changes, you know. So the dry start method may be more appropriate for people that aren't very confident in their plant health, because the danger is if you buy unhealthy plants to start with, they're going to struggle to adapt to your aquarium environment. But if you give them an immersed setup, they can get CO2 from the air. They've got more light, so they may be more appropriate. You know, if you're not sure about the quality of the plant and they're in an immersed state already, then dry start might be the best option. Cool. Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, I'm just going to do another ramble for a bit, if that's all right, because I love talking to everyone. So my kind of purpose, my motivation behind this talk was really to bring the show to a bit of a peaceful end. You know, these shows can be quite high energy, you know, quite chaotic in a way. You know, lots of fast food and alcohol, and you know, so I wanted to really, hopefully, make you guys feel a bit more chill by the time you go home. So you can, you know, when we finish this little talk, you can make your way home, and then maybe when you get home, you see your aquarium. You know, you might think about it maybe in a different way. And if you do that, I'd love to hear from you. So just drop me a random comment on YouTube or Instagram or something and say, George, I now see my aquarium in a different light, literally a different light. So hopefully that has connected some of you to something maybe a bit more esoteric regarding your aquascapes. Hands up who has a planted aquarium already. Okay, and keep your hands up if you've got CO2. Okay, that's good. So, when you're next to your plant maintenance, when you're next to your maintenance on your aquarium, you know, when you're doing your water changes, just be super mindful, you know, of what you're doing. You know, watch that water going in. Pay attention to it. Don't, you know, leave it and do something else and like check your phone for Instagram, or, you know, just be really present in that moment of what you're doing and while you're doing it. And you'll just, the more you do this practice, the more attention you pay to the present moment, the more kind of power you have over your own mind, and the more resilient you get to stressful situations and triggers, you know. Because you have this unique ability to realize what's real and what isn't, because you've trained your brain to understanding what the power of now really is. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. I'm deeply grateful for all of you. Cheers.